Do endorsements matter? Do endorsements from real people with real problems matter more than from out-of-touch billionaires? Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Kimberly McNabb, and with me is Barrett McNabb.
Thanks, Kimberly. So Amer Ghalib, the mayor of the only city in the United States with an all-Muslim government, the city of Hamtramck, has endorsed former President Donald Trump. He called Trump a man of principles and the right choice, despite their disagreements on some issues. So go ahead. This city had made numerous news cycles previously. We have an episode that we did on this. The city council famously banned all flags except those related to government. So they flew the American flag, the state flag, the MIAPOW flag, and then a weird one from that kind of this flag from that was made up from all of the Muslim countries and Islamic countries where the people predominantly came from. But famously, they banned all LGBTQ and pride flags. And this got a bunch of people very upset. But they said, look, those flags don't have anything to do with government. The Black Lives Matter flag doesn't have anything to do with government either.
I would say they're anti-government.
Right. And so they decided to go ahead and ban those flags. So we did an episode on that. And it made a lot of news cycles, famously or infamously for that to happen. But they're in the news cycle again.
Well, I'd like to point out that he said that Donald Trump is a man of principles, not higher moral authority, but
right.
Principles, meaning if he says he's going to do something, he's going to move heaven and earth to do it. So
right.
I'd like to point that out. But, this does surprise some people, as Trump has had his Muslim ban in his first administration, and the mayor immigrated from Yemen, which is
right.
on that list of countries on the ban when he was 17 years old.
Yeah, again, this is something that the Democrats like to do dog whistles on and make something sound scary, but it was not a Muslim ban. President Trump did not say, I'm banning Muslims from coming in the country. He had a list of countries that had a higher than likely chance that terrorists were coming in from those countries. Okay, now those countries happen to be Muslim, but there are also Christians in those countries. There are Jews in those countries as well. And so it was not a ban on Muslims, but the media made it out to be because that sounds scarier than countries that that have a larger than not population of terrorists.
Well, also, do you want the country you immigrated to become the country you immigrated from?
Yeah, I'd have to say that the vast majority of people that do immigration, whether it be legal or illegal immigration, is they're leaving their country for something.
Leaving some problems.
Yeah, leaving problems, and they're leaving to go to a better place for their family. Now, obviously, we talk about illegal immigration a lot on this channel because that's exactly what it is. There are legal pathways, and the United States does need more immigrants. We just need people to sign on the dotted line at ports of entry, at applying through the app, at applying at the consulates, at whatever your point of origin is. That's the right way to do it, and we have a list of people that are in the queue in order to immigrate to the United States, and they have a lottery system. They have visas that are needs for high specialty workers, high skilled workers, and but this is. This Muslim ban, to say, look, I'm banning Muslims. It just wasn't true. It's just one of those things that was seized upon by the media. But to your point, having people come here to get a better life, this is what Trump is promising. He's promising to make America great again, and it takes people who immigrated here legally. It takes you as well. He means you as well. He wants to make your life better again. And I think that the mayor,
recognizes it.
Yeah, he recognizes it, and he believes that Trump could help reach a ceasefire and have both sides of Hamas and really, it's not just Hamas; it's for the Palestinian civilians to be able to get that ceasefire, to have Israel get the ceasefire, get the hostages back, they believe that Trump can do this.
So the Uncommitted National Movement, a grassroots campaign aimed at pressuring Democrats to end their support for the war, announced that it would not endorse Harris after her team failed to meet a September 15th deadline to respond to a request for a meeting with families of Palestinians killed in Gaza. So I would, the journalists aren't holding her accountable for not meeting with them, doing interviews and the whatnot. Finally, a group of people say, you know what, you won't meet with us, we're not going to endorse you.
Yeah,
Good for them.
And that needs to happen. That needs to happen on a greater basis, because
it's an insult.
It is
an insult. They take it for the insult that it is.
And Kamala has not had to answer any truly tough questions. And I can promise you, the families of those Palestinians killed in Gaza would ask her hard questions, and it would be questions that would not be vetted. They would be questions that she would not get in advance, where she can have a team of people to pore over, and it would only have an opportunity for her to look bad, which is why she passed.
Well, of course. I mean, politically speaking, yes, it's a smart move to pass, but all choices come with consequences. And also another thing I think that the Uncommitted Movement and the mayors thinking, and like-minded Muslims are thinking, the Biden-Harris administration has tried to two sides everything.
Right.
Especially in the Palestinian-Israel war that's going on. And a common truth in life is when you try to two sides everything, you just make both sides mad.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the old adage, you can't please everybody all the time, but you can make everybody mad at you at the same time.
Yes.
You can definitely do that.
And if you really want to find out if that's true, think about your kids.
Right.
You try to make them happy. Usually they find a way to be mad at you, so you may as well not bend over backwards.
Yeah, exactly. But really, it goes beyond. It goes beyond just the war in Israel and the Gaza Strip. A lot of the people that this mayor is representing, they like how Trump is in favor of school choice, right?
Yes, and religious freedom when it comes to school. And, one thing they're not in favor of is transing the kids.
Yeah, and that to your point, there was a meeting of Christian, Jewish, and Muslim community members that were protesting and speaking out against this indoctrination, the sexual indoctrination in public schools as it stands anyway. So this is an opportunity where all of the major religions saw it was important to come together in order to push back.
Yes, and I would like to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the United States is a melting pot, and all of our citizens need to be able to have a say in what's going on. And the elite Dems should be listening to these organizations and these groups, because this is what America is. It's that melting pot. And when you try and shove an agenda that people don't want, man, we come together to push back on it.
Well, I think the elites don't. The elite Democratic Party does not care about the normal people and their values.
The little people?
They just want power.
Yeah, I can see that. And it makes me sad, because there are, so many Muslim small business owners, and they also support Trump because they believe it's going to lead to lower taxes. And, that's just the way it is. It's the famous Bill Clinton quote, "It's the economy, stupid." Those are the type of quotes that transcend eras and transcend party lines. Trump is focused on the economy, and it shows in the polling. I mean, I know we talk about polls and how we don't like them, but in every poll, without anybody, looking at who is doing the poll, Trump beats Harris on the economy.
Right. And, I hate it when people talk about, women for Harris, and, I have daughters, and I want to, as Chris Rock said, I want to take my daughters to meet this first black female president. In 20 years from now, the normal person's not going to care about that. I still remember 2009 when I got laid off. Do you think I really cared that our president was black? Absolutely not. I cared that I got laid off.
Right. And you should as well. You should as well. But this majority Muslim, and the interesting thing is it used to be Polish. It used to be a Polish community, is how it was originally founded, and just recently it's become majority Muslim, and they won all the city council seats and the mayor position. And so that's awesome about America that is able to happen, and they are supporting Trump, and it's really making waves because it's not supposed to be that way. The Muslims are supposed to hate Trump, but again, he's not trying to punish Muslims. He is trying to make America safe and vet the people that are coming in, unlike Kamala Harris, the Harris-Biden administration, just having a porous southern border, allowing drugs and human trafficking and illegal immigrants to just pour across the border. There is a legal path to come in. It's pretty easy, and I just really think that this community in Michigan really sees that as well, and they definitely want Trump to be the president because of, again, school choice, because of religious rights, because of the economy. And these are all things that are important to real everyday Americans.
I appreciate any instance in which a citizen can recognize, hey, this may not involve me towing whatever party line, but it's
Right.
standing up for what I believe to be right.
Yeah, you can still be a registered Democrat and realize that this candidate on the other side of the aisle is best for me right now, and so I'm going to vote that way. And then you can still say, hey, look, I'm a Democrat, but when you have all of these white dudes for Kamala that are having fundraisers and things like that. The interesting thing is all of these little segments that the Democrat Party is endorsing and trying to fan those flames. Those are all identity politics. They're putting a gender and a race associated with these things to again put us in little tribes and divide us. And Trump is trying to get us to come together.
Yep, and the economy can do that.
Yeah, again, it's the economy, stupid. So anyway, we wanted to bring this to you that Trump has another big endorsement that's in a feather in his cap and is going to help out that community as well, and we wanted to bring it to you. So thanks so much for tuning into Azimuth Podcast, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in. As in the words of Kamala Harris, as Oprah Winfrey would say, more unites us than divides us. Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Kimberly McNabb, and with me is my husband, Barrett McNabb.
Thanks, Kimberly. I'd say whether you're an average Democrat or diehard MAGA, we can agree on one thing. Taxes suck. Yet the Democrat candidate, Harris, just received the endorsement by the IRS agent union. I mean, come on. The union president says she supports the issues that matter most to our members. Of course they do. She supported the Inflation Reduction Act, which enabled the IRS to hire 87,000 more IRS agents. I just want to make sure you understand that. It's been in the news, but I want you to hear the number again. 87,000 more IRS agents. So the Biden administration claimed that this would not increase the audits of those making less than $400,000 a year. But the government never lies, right?
Well, yeah, let's go there. Per the Heritage Foundation, the Treasury Inspector General admitted that the Treasury would not be able to accurately distinguish whether many taxpayers are above or below the $400,000 threshold. The IRS claims it needs to have the agility to target anyone. As of last summer, 63% of new audits targeted those earning less than $200,000, while 80% involved individuals making less than $1 million. Now, the Government Accountability Office says that the audits of lower income tax returns produce more bang for their buck, as in audit hours.
Yeah, a Harris presidency would be estimated to lead to $5 trillion of tax increases over the next decade. Combined with a tax on unrealized gains, the IRS would have plenty of job security. And that's just been an absolute hot button issue, is to have to pay taxes on something that you have not sold yet.
Yes, and that doesn't just affect the elite. I mean, many people have a house. Many people have 401k accounts.
Right.
Coming for those too.
People have baseball cards that are worth a lot of money.
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I mean, where do you draw the line? People have comic books that have held on for a long period of time, and that's increased in value. So people have artwork and paintings and things like that. People have cars that, are old-time cars that are appreciating in value, and all of those could be on the table.
Absolutely.
Well, her VP pick, Walz, would double down on the IRS's efforts. While he was in Congress, Walz voted in support of a bill that would impose a big energy tax increase as well. And all of this seems kind of funny because this is promise of more work and job security for these IRS agents is actually kicking and screaming about having to return to the office with their current workload. So, this remote work thing, we love hanging out and robbing people of their hard-earned money from the comfort of our couch.
We just don't want to commute to do it.
We just don't want to commute to do it.
Well, these increased taxes and audits are just more attacks by the Democrats on the middle class. The upper class is being disproportionately affected. And there is a realignment around class lines to where the elites have become the Democratic base.
Go figure.
And who are the loudest Democrat endorsers? Billionaires like Oprah Winfrey. Goldman Sachs endorses her, and now the IRS Tax Union. And if you want further proof of the realignment around class lines, the UAW isn't even fully composed of the middle class. I mean, you're thinking, oh, United Autos workers? No, they're not 100% auto workers. The union realized that a majority of them are Trump supporters. So now a quarter, 25% of UAW, United Autos Workers Union, is composed of people working at universities.
This is absolutely crazy. But the Democrat Party is out of touch when even MSNBC says their
MSM as in mental, SNBC
says their party is presenting out of touch. And so here's a quick clip.
When we're looking at this circumspectly, when we're talking about battleground states and talking to working everyday Americans, utilizing a billionaire who's not dealing with the cost of inflation, with stagnant wages, with stagnant industries, is really just out of touch. And I think that's what he really meant to say, is that hiding behind Hollywood as opposed to really just talking about the policies of your administration may not be working specifically in battleground states.
So she was referring to Trump commenting on Oprah Winfrey talking with Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I mean, so here she is. Oprah Winfrey's a billionaire, and she is not feeling a single thing. The cost of baby formula doesn't apply to her. The cost of eggs, milk doesn't apply to her. She eats all those things, and it's a blip on her grocery budget. I mean, she has a staff that does all her groceries for her anyway. So of course it's easy to say, hey, let's get this thing done and get Kamala elected and get her over this hump. But the thing is she's not feeling the pain of the real Americans, the real people that are the working class Americans. And that's who this IRS is going to hit the most, especially since that also includes small businesses. So sole proprietorships, LLCs, where, the vast majority of working Americans in the United States, the biggest job growth is in small business. It's not the 3Ms. It's not Coca-Cola. It's not Amazon. The biggest job growth is coming from these small businesses that are approximately around that 400,000 dollar mark, and it's going to be rough on those. And so what happens? People hire less because they have to deal with the IRS, and so it's not just rich people that's going on. They're going after institutions as well.
I think also it's easier to go after lower income people because they don't have the money to pay expensive accountants and lawyers, and they don't have the time or the money to deal with IRS agents. And I think the IRS can recognize that. They're going to get less fight out of lower income people.
Yeah, I mean, how do you do it? Hey, you owe us this amount of money. Well, let me go get an attorney that's going to cost me $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in order to fight you. And obviously, that's just not going to work. Now, the budget that was in the Inflation Reduction Act, which had nothing to do with reducing inflation, we've said this before, it's just the truth. It had nothing to do with reducing inflation.
I remember when it first came out, I just skimmed it for about 90 seconds. I'm like, I am seeing no keywords about the economy, policy, unregulating things. It's just energy this, energy that, green this, windmill, solar, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it was all that, but it had that $80 billion in order to increase those IRS agents over the next 10 years. Now, the newest budget that the Harris-Biden administration has increased that again to hire even more IRS agents, and they're looking at $100 billion, which is 5 times their budget over a period of 10 years. And so they're just setting the conditions to be able to have those people out there doing the audits. And one of the things that Trump wants to do is he wants to make it easier for federal employees to be reclassified and to be able to cut jobs and get rid of some of this red tape. And the Harris-Biden administration is trying to do legislation that would prevent any of federal employees from losing their jobs and to have them kind of locked in. So if this tug of war fails, then you're going to have this IRS plethora of agents on a permanent basis. It's going to be hard to get rid of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we saw this. You need to do your own research, but we're here to give you the facts that, if there's something that makes you go, to have the IRS union endorsing Kamala Harris, get ready for you to be taxed to death. That's just what's going to happen. I mean, they always say the two constants in life are death and taxes. Well, I think the Harris-Biden administration is going to try and combine them.
Absolutely.
So thanks for tuning in to Azimuth Podcast. Please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.
Illegal immigration affects the United States in very different ways. There's second and third order effects that we need to talk about on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Barrett McNabb, and with me is Kimberly McNabb. So it depends on where you live, where Customs and Border will really help out with deportations. So take example, some of the Democratic cool guy strongholds of Martha's Vineyard or the Hamptons, and you have Customs and Border Protection that are going in, and any illegal immigrants that are in those areas are immediately getting deported out of there because we can't have the ruffians inside the peasants inside the Democrat elite playgrounds. I mean, you really can't do that. But where's it different in the rest of the United States? I mean, here in Houston, we've had children that are sexually assaulted and murdered by illegal immigrants. You have in Aurora, Colorado, entire apartment buildings that are being taken over by Venezuelan gang members, and there's video. We'll put some video up here of them walking around and carrying full AK-47s. Now, the Aurora police chief said, "Oh, this is nothing to see here. Smoke and mirrors, because this is an election season. And we can't have this.
Don't believe your lying eyes."
Yeah, this talking point out there, which makes Democrats look bad, and having this illegal immigration problem that we have coming in through our porous border, and so but video evidence is really hard to tamp down. Now, here is an article where there's an area of the country that people are beginning to push back, and it's from kind of an unexpected spot. It's in the south side of Chicago, and it happens to revolve around the local gangs, the Bloods and the Crips, getting into battles with Venezuelan criminals.
Well, I heard a joke on Gutfield. Let's kick Kamala Harris out of her job as borders are and put in the Crips and the Bloods.
Right, exactly. So basically what's happening is Venezuelan, violent Venezuelan gangs are trying to muscle in on black gang territory and turf and try to do crimes and drugs and things like that. And the Bloods and the Crips are saying that, we're kind of fragmented, but the Venezuelan gangs are not, and they are in solidarity, and so they're actually pushing out the local gangs in favor of taking over territory.
I wonder if there's any possibility of the Crips and Bloods coming together.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the last thing the police should want. I guess they would have to admit there's a problem if the Crips and Bloods come together.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it almost
total gang war.
It almost seems like the mayor of Kingstown with Jeremy Rayner, who leads that. It's a show that we watch, and he's this mayor that tries to facilitate people inside prison and people outside prison in order to make the city smooth, and the Crips are in a place. There's the Russian mob is in a place. There's Latino gangs in place, and he's always trying to run around and make everybody happy in order to kind of keep this balance. And it's the same thing on the prison system. Each of those groups are in prison, and they're having these different power struggles. And his job is to smooth things over and facilitate that. And it almost seems like that might be needed in Southside Chicago, for all of this friction. I mean, who would think? I mean, we hear about all the time that about people being murdered in Georgia, Lake and Riley. You have again, the apartment complexes being taken over in Aurora. You have problems in Los Angeles. All over the place. And the places that we don't have problems are the illegal immigrants that were sent to Martha's Vineyard by DeSantis, and
I loved that move.
Who were promptly grabbed up and moved out of there.
Just another case of the Democratic elite trying to make rules for everyone else. Oh, but not for me.
But not for me. But there was an interesting thing. I saw a video on a Martha's Vineyard podcast, and resident for Martha's Vineyard, and they had the gall to say, "We sure do miss those people." They were there for like 4 hours, and immediately get them out of here, and they went to a reserve military base and then shipped out from there. But this person's like, "Oh, I sure do miss them," and you're a liar. You're a liar.
Yeah,
you're one of the people that got them out.
You're just trying to prove you're a good Democrat. Pat me on the head.
Exactly. But who would think that that the Venezuelan violent drug gangs are setting up shop? I mean, we see petty crime and violent crime going up all over the place. FBI says crime has reduced by 3%. That's because it's not being reported and it's not being processed. So you have three Venezuelan immigrants beating up police officers in New York City, and they get $1 bail and go on to Arizona, right? So, but that crime was reduced all the way down. So, of course, violent crime, if you're saying, well, that was reduced to jaywalking, then there's not, a violent crime that occurred.
Well, also when you have a police chief denying that there's a problem, what is the likelihood that you think people are going to report stuff?
Yeah, exactly, because they're going to say I'm not being helped, and
don't be surprised when you have a recruiting problem when the police chief denies there's crime and you're on the street on the beat going, you're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong, and I also think that with the defund the police movement, you're also having a police officer, and it is true, and I'm going to use the word gun shy, but you're going to have a police officer that's afraid, not out of fear, but just nervous to arrest people and to ticket people and things like that, because it could turn into an escalation. And there's already this defund movement. So I want to know how many police officers kind of have done a wink and nod and let something go. Not that they're bad people.
They don't want to get sued, and they themselves don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so I understand, and I'm not saying that police officers are bad for doing that. I'm just saying that there's probably a little gun shyness in order to do some of these arrests and things like that. But who would figure that there would be a second, third order effect where established criminal activity would be disrupted by new criminal activity?
Yeah. Well, I saw an interesting article. Many blacks are upset that the immigrants are, taking resources from the city. But there was this ex-convict. He got out of prison, served his time. He's a reformed gangbanger, and he started a group called Ex-Cons for Trump. And so it's like, maybe it'll be the convicts that saved us.
Right. I mean, think about it. We'll put a graphic up that Kimberly found that shows what states that former convicts can vote in, and it's color coded.
Yeah, because that was a surprise. I'm like, I thought convicted felons couldn't vote, but in some states they can.
They can. For example, here in Texas, after a felon has completed all of their punishments, their sentencing and everything, and they're free and clear, they get their voting rights restored. But still, this when Kimberly talked to me about this ex-cons for Trump, if you look at what Trump did, he did a ton of criminal justice reform, and that he does not get credit for. He reduced sentences. He had Kanye West and Kim Kardashian like every other weekend coming in with her having a new pet project of somebody who needed to have their sentence commuted or things like that. And Trump listened and did all of that. And so here we go. We have ex-cons for Trump that are like, he's going to make America great again. He's going to stop these Venezuelan gangs for helping out. And everybody just needs to get on board with this.
Well, he's bringing all sorts of people together. The mayor of Hamtramck, Michigan,
right.
The all-Muslim-led city, is bringing ex-cons for Trump. The Teamsters leader couldn't
right.
endorse Harris because so many people that he's leads are voting for him.
Voting for Trump. Yeah, absolutely. It was just an absolutely weird article, something that you would not think of that would be a second and third order effect of Venezuelan gangs setting up shop in Southside Chicago and having friction with the Bloods and the Crips. Absolutely amazing. So we saw this article. We wanted to bring it to you, and leave a comment below on what you think about all this. Thanks for tuning in, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.